and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video we have another flower letter. This is flower letter number 23. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this letter. I have enjoyed it. It has been one of my favorite ones so far. We are getting close to wrapping this up. Hopefully it would get to us before the beginning of the year. But let's open this. And did not do a good job at opening this one. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. I really got to get me a letter opener, guys. It's really, really bad. Okay, I got it. So, let's see what we got. Ooh, we got pretty purple. Alright. So we have a pretty postcard. Really love this one. Love the colors on it. Always really love these. Wish I had somebody to send them to. Really, really love that. Ooh, and we got some nice, pretty light pink paper. Oh, look, we have another. I use this as a bookmark. I'm hoping you guys can see it. The light's not reflecting. I used my last one as a bookmark. But you guys can use them for like whatever you want. But it's like a little foil thing that they sent us. They sent us one earlier. But I really, really like it. And like I said, I like to use mine as a bookmark. So I wanted to go ahead and show that to you. And of course, the business card that we have been collecting. I really, really like this one. She looks like she is reading something that she shouldn't be, and she is scared somebody's gonna walk in on her. Or she could be reading something very, very scary. I don't know. She's got candlelight there. There's a moon over here in the background, if you guys can see. It's a full moon. So this is, yes, it's called The Ghost Story. Let's see. It says a trustworthy tonic. It's kind of got a lot of things going on. I'm assuming that they're advertising maybe a book here. Perhaps. It's got a couple of different things here. It's very, very tiny. I'm not sure if you guys would be able to read it. It's just talking about the winter season. Don't forget the cold. It's talking about tuberculosis, lungs. It could be an advertisement for a cough syrup, perhaps. I see something about whooping cough down here and all kinds of stuff. But I do like the front of this. This is super cute. Really, really like that. So like I said, we have this letter on pretty light pink paper. I hope you guys can see this. I hope my lighting is picking that up. That is super pretty. And it says La Petite Chateau Versailles. So this looks like somebody's writing to Lily. It says Dear Lily on it. And let's see. We got 1, 2, we got 3 pages. Oh, this is very pretty. I'm going to show you guys this. This is super pretty. I like this. This must be like her her symbol, or maybe like if she had a business card, this is what it would look like. So really, really like that. So okay. This says April 22nd, 1885. Dear Lily, my dear girl, I won't hear a word of it. Throwing that wedding dinner for you and your dear sister was one of the highlights of my career and an entertainer. But I do hope you didn't mind the extravagance customary of such an event. Dear me, the look on Mr. DeMille's face when I came out in my feathered and crimson silk was, well, quite delightful, if I'm being honest. Oh, he's the best of men, but really, it's too bad some of those Mormons took themselves so dang seriously. Besides, isn't it their look that says men are that they might have joy? Well, weddings, feathers, and crimson silk bring me a great deal of joy. That, and of course, seeing you and my dear, dear Mr. Hickman so blissfully happy together. Truly, my dear, I couldn't have picked a better woman for him, even if my Lizzie was still alive. Oh, it's no secret she was sweet on him, but she was far too practical for the likes of Mr. Hickman. He needs a woman with a bit of fire in her to keep him from going too quickly. You're full to the brim with both, believe me. I've known Matthew for a few years, Now, since he found you, he looks years younger and less withered than I've ever seen him. Keep him young for as long as you can. Little young-hearted husbands make the best lovers. And now I will answer your question and tell you what I know about our White Widow. Or, as you've guessed it, our poor baker, Bianca. As you have surmised, her husband was the late Mr. Oliver Snip, who was disgracefully lynched the day you arrived in Frisco. Canuta was her maiden name, which was why Sheriff Parson was never able to track down her sister in Beaver. Unlike the rest of the townsfolk, I knew Bianca because she had worked for me as a baker for a few months before she met and married Mr. Snip. After she married, however, she was ever away from town helping her sister, who was often poorly, with always being gone and the constant turmoil in Frisco. Not to mention her discreet nature, it was no wonder no one in town ever recognized Bianca as Mr. Snip's widow. I was actually the one who invited her back to Frisco. You see, I offered her job back, and she agreed to come if I kept her connection to Mr. Snip a secret. Of course, I agreed, thinking it was only natural for one with her nature to desire privacy while she grieved the tragic death of her husband. I was at the train station the day specifically to meet her. It wasn't random, like I allowed you to believe, although I have gone to the train station often enough to find girls in need of a mother. Bianca hadn't been here long when she came to my room and told me she had letters that proved her husband hadn't been cooking the books, as Mr. Gamut led that mob to believe. In fact, the only thing Mr. Snip was guilty of was that he discovered being cut out in the sharing of the mine. Thousands of men's lives were being needlessly put at risk every day to a couple of men's greed. When Bianca told me she knew Gambit was behind it all, that he framed Snip for underhanded dealings because he threatened to expose Gambit for covering up those 4 deaths, I agreed to continue helping her maintain immunity until she can get to the bottom of things. Please believe me when I tell you, I had no idea how she intended to get to the bottom of things until that night you found me quite indisposed with grief in my room. The night I told you about my brother and sister murdered, but by then I was too entranced in it to go to the law, and what law was there to go to? When Sheriff Parson finally arrived, however, I knew I had to do something, especially when Gamut found your wedding dress and everyone believed you were the White Widow. I can't tell you how distressed I was for you, my dear. How could I even look Mr. Hickman in the face again if anything happened to you? So I stole into Bianca's room and took her husband's letters. I made sure Sheriff Parson found them. I knew if your Mr. Hickman had recommended the sheriff, then Parson could be trusted to get to the bottom of things, even if he discovered I was involved and ended up taking me down as well. When Bianca fell during the mine collapse, I knew you'd recognize her. White powder couldn't disguise hair that black in broad daylight. My heart broke for the poor girl, and I do wish I could have saved her from herself. I don't believe Gamut and his men deserve to die at her hand, but I'm also not sure any of them would have been served justice if it had been left up in the hands of the law, especially not if that horrid Captain Ribby, with all his Chicago connections, had anything to say about it, having gone through what I have with my siblings and niece. I don't believe I have much faith in the justice system, but if enough men and women like you, Mr. Hickman, Sheriff Parson, and my sister Lizzie keep fighting the good fight, perhaps that will change one day. In the meantime, it's probably best that my nieces are never recovered when the mine crashed, even if I shall miss them terribly. As to Bianca, I fear her revenge hasn't brought her any peace. The poor wench is sold, you see. Since you all left, rumors have crept up around town that the White Widow has been spotted roaming the foothills near her husband's grave again. As a matter of fact, I was up there just last evening leaving flowers on Lizzie's grave when I saw her myself. She looked so forsworn and wretched, and I fear her poor soul won't be allowed any peace or rest until Judgment Day. May God have mercy on her. But I refuse to end this letter on such a sad note. Instead, I will end by telling you I've decided to hold my last show at La Petite Chateau Versailles next month, and then I'm going to close for good. I've taken your advice. I think it's time for me to head back to California. My final show will have a ghostly theme, which I believe is quite fitting, all things considered. If not slightly morbid, Frisco will be a town of more ghosts than our White Widow soon enough anyway. Besides, people of all backgrounds tend to be fascinated with the microwave these days, and perhaps the show will bring in a few extra audience members from Beaver. If only you had stayed long enough to help me to realize my final piece of resistance, my dear. Oh well, in the meantime, as these Mormons say in parting, God be with you till we meet again. Ever yours, Lottie. So down here in red, as always, guys, it says that you can go to theflowerletter.com and you can learn about all the words that were highlighted. And apparently the White Widow legend is apparently a real legend, so it was based on something. I really, really like that. I can't wait to get on there and kind of see what that says. Okay, so that was our letter from Miss Lottie writing to Lily. She is going to be putting on one last show, and she is going to be leaving for California. I am really glad that they have wrapped up the White Widow. It was Miss Bianca who, if we remember back in the town crier, she was reported missing. So we did figure out who she was. I couldn't really remember her. I know it only spoke of her briefly, and it was like somebody you kind of just put out of your mind. But she is the White Widow, and I do hate that, you know, she can't rest in peace and stuff, but it makes a good ghost story, I suppose. You know, everybody has to have their ghost stories. But I did really, really love this one. I loved the fancy paper that she wrote the letter on. So you guys let me know what you think about this one. You let me know if Bianca or really anybody, who was your suspect of the White Widow. Do let me know. I personally thought that it was Lottie, but that obviously isn't true. So I hope you guys liked this video. I will see you guys back here in my next flower letter. Bye!